One of the things I enjoy about aquarium service is the opportunity to try different things on a number of different tanks. You've seen my previous interest in algae scrubbers. Here's another scrubber, but this one has a big difference. And the big difference with this algae scrubber is its smaller size and the fact that it's operated with LED lights. This is the L2 algae scrubber by Turbos Aquatics. As you can see, it's 2/3 smaller in length and, as mentioned, operates with LED lights. Now, the advantage of LED lighting is the lower electrical operating cost, a reduction in heat influence, and a significantly longer and steadier operating lifespan. So let's find a customer and install this on their tank.
So we've arrived at the location. This is an aquarium service customer I've had for about 6 years now. These two tanks are former reef tanks that were set up in the 90s. In fact, I remember selling this fellow corals in the shop that I used to work in. A few years back he called me and asked me to start taking over service of the tanks. So again, these are hi kitty cat, former reef tanks. Here's the one we're going to be putting the scrubber on, and here's the other one that currently remains as a reef tank. Again, this is the one we'll be putting the scrubber on, and that'll go into the cabinet down inside here. Our intent and goal is to just see if we can control some of the algae growth that occurs on the glass panels. And then you can see there's a tank full of live rock with a few remaining mushrooms. This tank's now been dedicated as a fish tank as opposed to a reef tank. Maybe you might call it a fowler tank. And then, as I said, this is the remaining reef tank with some mushrooms and soft corals inside there. This one I wouldn't mind trying to put a scrubber on as well, but the cabinet is just way too small to accommodate that stuff. So what I'm going to do here today is determine what it is I need to prepare myself to install the algae scrubber on this tank.
And as with all aquarium services, we start by placing down some sort of protection on the floor. We then position our step stool and gain entrance to the top of the tank through a hanging door panel that is held open by a supporting rod.
And you can see at one time this was a pretty serious attempt at a reef tank. Power compact lighting as well as metal halide bulbs. It's no longer a reef tank, namely because the homeowner doesn't want to put the effort or have the interest in maintaining it as a reef, so we've just switched it over to a fish-only system, kind of a fowler system, but there is an abundance of algae. The filter system is just a large sump, had a bunch of live rock in it, and then a protein skimmer, a few other gizmos, UV sterilizer. There was a canister filter down here that's actually still in use, a large Iwaki 100 for circulation. There's also another pump back there for filter circulation. There are sea swirls in the tank, but I think only one of them works at this point. So what we want to do today is determine where we're going to place the algae scrubber, and I think it's going to end up having to span this open chamber here, which I think is going to require us to remove the live rock out of there, which will stir up some schmutz in the tank. But I have to order a cover or a plate to sit over the top so that the scrubber has something to sit on. So we're still a couple weeks away from actually doing the installation. So my initial envisionment is that this unit will sit right here. It'll pump its water up from below into the unit, and then its overflow will drain, as well as its center drain will go into this chamber here. I think that's where we're going to end up placing it. So I'm going to make a lid or a cover or a support for here for this to sit on so that it's secure and yet has holes cut out to accommodate these drains. So I've gone ahead and made some notes as to the dimensions of the platform that the scrubber will sit on. I'll have the manufacturer make that for us. It'll probably take a week or so. So I won't plan on doing this installation for another 2 weeks. In the meantime, this is a weekly service, so I'll show you this one next time we actually do the install as far as how it's serviced. Let's go ahead and service this little 60-gallon little remaining reef tank.
Tropical Fish Hobbyist magazine has been the authoritative source for aquarium keepers since the first legendary issue rolled off the presses in 1952. With informative articles month after month about the fascinating world of freshwater aquariums, saltwater setups, paludariums, ponds, and more, illustrated in crisp detail by the world's top aquatic photographers, TFH covers it all. And now, with subscriptions starting at $13.95 and a mobile digital edition you can take with you wherever you go, TFH is your ultimate resource for all things aquatic. Next time you're near Long Beach, California, take the time to stop in at Age of Aquariums, 2642 Cherry Avenue, just off the 405 freeway near Signal Hill. Age of Aquariums carries a full line of dry goods, supplements, and exotic equipment. Age of Aquariums also carries a wide assortment of living corals, coral frags, as well as fresh and saltwater fish, ranging from the usual, the unusual, and the bizarre. Age of Aquariums is located at 2642 Cherry Avenue, Long Beach, California, near Signal Hill. Open 7 days a week. Call 562-438-6252 or visit ageofaquariums.biz.
Hi there, my name's Jim Stime and you know me as the LA Fish Guy. Well, I also wear a couple of other hats. One of them is the jellyfish tank called the Jelly Aquarium, and the third is myfishtank.com. I offer an entire line of acrylic aquariums ranging from rectangular to hexagon, flatback hex, as well as the custom curve front aquariums. There's also an entire line of stands and canopies ranging from MDF to pine to oak with a variety of different finishes available. And the website is even smart enough that you can calculate what the freight and crate charges to your location will be. That's myfishtank.com. This little 60-gallon reef tank is fairly self-sufficient. It does require me to go in weekly to clean the algae off the interior. I also tend to vacuum the sand at the bottom because it does get a lot of that red slime. And of course that forces me to do a water change, 5 gallons a week in the system.
As I mentioned, these are former reef tanks. Even this one, with its assorted mushrooms and toadstool coral, has slowly become a shadow of itself. When equipment such as the automatic top-off system or light bulbs fail, we're not replacing them. Aside from weekly water changes, there are no supplements added to either tank. The trick for me is to maintain what's still left in an operating manner and still keep the corals and the fish and the owners happy.
And now that we've got the 3 panels cleaned, we're going to go down and do the gravel line. This is the area that chances are we're going to end up getting some granules of sand or gravel in the filter pad and quite possibly scuff or scratch the acrylic panel. So we want to be a little careful down here.
The gravel line is always a difficult area to work within. One could try to push away from the front panel as much of the gravel as possible so as to avoid increase in the odds of scratching the acrylic. I tend to push my cleaning pad through the gravel and then return to the tougher spots separately. The one thing I do always try to do is to free my cleaning pad of granules as often as possible, as it's those trapped granules that will cause you your next scratch.
We previously poured in our 5 gallons of new ocean water. We're going to use that to vacuum the gravel or try to get some of that red slime off the sand. There's actually an abundance of red slime growing over the rocks. I've tried to add some product in the past, but the erythromycin seems to in the long run create additional problems, and I've used some other stuff, some slime remover or sludge remover or sledgehammer or something like that by the doctor, but it didn't seem to slow the problem down either. As a matter of fact, it seemed to kind of encourage it, and I seem to be losing snails as a result of it. So we just weekly go through and vacuum that out. We're not trying to create any denitrating zone down here. As a matter of fact, it's one of my ways of trying to eliminate some of the nutrients that have built up in the tank over time. Keep in mind that these tanks are well over 10 years old, so I wouldn't even care to speculate as to what the nitrate or the phosphate level in either one of them would be. I'm sure they're elevated. And at some point, if the L2 scrubber works out well on the bigger tank, maybe we'll move it over onto this tank or try a different one on this tank. I still think that the application, where it's going to fit or how it's going to fit, would be an issue because of the limited amount of space down in the cabinet below. And there, the water change is done. We've got a protein skimmer in here. We'll go ahead and clean the cup out in. Everything's really quite compact, and you can see as the protein skimmer gets a little out of hand, it tends to spray a little bit of salt mist all over the place. But the little tank does hang in there. The fish are doing really well. Flame angel, there's a yellow tang, a pair of clowns, and both the yellow tang and the flame angel are not easy to keep fish these days. So they're happy. And of course the substitute anemone for the clownfish. And so with our little tank serviced and our big tank serviced, we will double check our notes on dimensions and make sure we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. I did remove all the rock out of there, or at least most of it, and then I'll vacuum it next week. And then I did just confirm with the homeowner that in 2 weeks, which is when I expect to have that platform available, he is ready for me to add the scrubber. So make it a point to come on back for part 2 as we install the algae scrubber, the L2 model, into this 80 or 90 gallon fish only system. See you then.